president of the Overseas Press Club of America, and this building is our headquarters, the gathering place of the top foreign correspondents of our time who cover every corner of the globe in their search to bring the truth to you. From their personal files, we tell the stories behind the headlines. What you're about to see really happened, and the people portrayed really lived. Here's a story told by George Harold when assigned to Vienna by International News Service.
Shortly after the war, while I was in Vienna, I received a weird letter. Well, to be frank, Baron, I wouldn't print a story like that without proof.
I have given you the facts, Mr. Harold. I can assure you they are authentic. The Grand Duchess Tatiana, under the assumed name of Katerina Smetona, has been a close friend of my mother for some 30 years. The Duchess now wishes to disclose her identity. I merely ask you to present her case to the world.
Yeah, well, if you don't mind, I'd like to do a little bit of checking up on my own first.
As you wish, Mr. Harold. You have my address. Perhaps when you are ready, we may meet again.
Perhaps. So I took the Baron's letter on its rounds. At the Bureau of Identification, it proved a source of considerable amusement. The Aliens Registration Bureau at least confirmed the fact that there was a Katerina Smetona. Next was the Public Records Office to check on the claims to the Romanov fortune. The claim was apparently not unique. The 4 daughters of the Tsar, presumed executed on July 16, 1918, had stayed dead, it seemed, for quite a long while. But recently, they had been bobbing up alive all over Europe. I was feeling pretty sore at the Baron for pulling such an old one. No one likes being made a sucker of. I'd made an appointment to meet the Baron again at the Kobenzo, one of Vienna's famous restaurants perched high on a mountaintop above the Danube.
I could have told you you would be received with, shall we say, the maximum of disbelief.
You could have told me.
I have been there myself, Mr. Harold.
You forgot to mention that.
If I recall, you told me that you would prefer to make your initial inquiries on your own.
Okay, one up for you. I take it the lady concerned would be highly delighted if you succeeded in establishing her claim.
Naturally.
There's a lot of money involved?
Yes, Mr. Harold. To the best of my knowledge, there is upwards of $50 million deposited by the Tsar in London and Zurich banks, awaiting only the proven claim of a true descendant.
And if you succeed?
I would share in that windfall. Is that what you were about to say?
Just about.
May we, Mr. Harold, for the sake of expediency, pass over the point at which I might take your question as an insult? I have sought you out for one reason only: to help a friend. I have sufficient for my needs.
But she hasn't.
That is not her motive either.
Well, what is it?
I think you would understand more when you see her and meet her.
You're absolutely convinced she's the Grand Duchess?
There is no question.
Well, when can I meet her?
If you wish, I will arrange for us all to meet here tomorrow afternoon.
Fine.
How do I look? Wonderful. Just as a baroness should look. Now, you mustn't flatter me. I'm too old for that. And so are my clothes. My child, you're not regretting your decision. Why should I? You're not afraid? No. I keep thinking of that day in Berlin. That car that knocked you down. And the way they tried to carry you into their embassy.
You mean they may still be searching for me?
Oh, that was 20 years ago. There's been a war since then. Nobody bothers about Grand Duchesses anymore. Their memories are long. May I speak quite plainly?
Yes, of course.
All these years I kept your secret because you asked me to, though I didn't agree with your decision. I was brought up in the old school, and I hoped those illusions might continue, whatever life might bring.
Times have changed.
But I have not. That is why I've always believed that it's my duty to try and persuade you to claim the wealth and position that is yours.
And now I've taken your advice.
And it's weighing on my mind that I may have influenced you against your better judgment.
No. Decision is mine.
Mine alone. You shouldn't question it. Oh, don't be upset. You've been a good and true friend to me. You know, all my life I've valued peace and security above all things. And I've been lucky enough to find them. Huh? But since the war, when there's so much need and suffering everywhere, I've changed my mind. When I see people without homes, wives without husbands, children without food, I feel that the ordinary individual can do so little, and that a person with rank and money can do so much. That's why I've decided to claim my inheritance. Come now. The car's waiting.
Good afternoon, Baroness. This is indeed a pleasure. You do not often honor us these days. Fraulein Smetona, there is a gentleman waiting for you on the terrace. He says he's a newspaper reporter.
Thank you. He's early. Oh, don't worry about me, my dear. It's a long time since I tasted those cream pastries. I much prefer them to reporters.
This way, please, Baroness.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. The Baron has arrived and is waiting for you. Will you come down, please?
I'll get the Baroness.
The Baron thinks it better we should talk in the car alone.
You're not an American. Who are you?
No, I'm not Mr. Harold. He is in the car.
Why didn't they come up themselves?
They asked me to bring you to them. Will you come down, please?
No. No, I'm sorry. Will you please tell them that I'm in the restaurant?
Maman,
You're late, Kurt.
where's the princess?
Out on the terrace with your American reporter.
Good. I'll join them.
No! Over back!
Look out!
They came for me. To kill me. They came for me.
I was a little annoyed at the Baron and the Grand Duchess for standing me up at the Cobensville restaurant. But later that night... George Harold speaking.
This is the Baron von Kiel.
Ah, good evening, Baron. Thanks a lot for calling.
I wish to apologize for leaving before you arrived this afternoon. I feel I owe you an explanation.
Yeah, I think you do.
Regarding the lady that you were supposed to meet, she is in great danger, but I cannot tell you over the phone.
Well, then, where are you speaking from?
I am in a phone booth. It's the corner of Ramerplatz and Werfstrasse.
Oh, well, that's not far from here. Why don't you come up to my place?
Thank you. What is the address?
Bohalstrasse 12A. Halfway down on the left-hand side from where you are, right opposite the fountain. I'm on the 4th floor.
I'm sorry, I may not be able to join you. There has been a development.
Good evening, Baron. Can you spare us a moment?
What do you want?
I think you know. We have a mutual interest in a certain person. Please, I don't want you to misunderstand what happened this afternoon.
When you tried to kill her?
Let me explain. We have spent many years searching for this lady. We do not necessarily wish her any harm.
You say that after what I saw with my own eyes?
Oh, we were only trying to persuade her to be sensible and return to her own country.
Her country? Your country, you mean? The country that condemned her to death as a child and is still trying to carry out that sentence.
On the contrary, she is the heiress to a fortune which belongs to the country that gave it to her. It is in both our interests that she should return to claim it, especially when we can provide the proof she seeks. We'll make it well worth your while if you tell us where she is.
I do not sell information about my friends.
You're selling it to the American. You see, we know your circumstances. We'll pay you more, much more than he will.
Here, you are wasting your time.
Perhaps we can persuade you. Where is he? Where is the Grand Duchess? All right, leave him to think it over.
Well, hello.
What's the matter?
I have been wasting your time, Mr. Harold.
How do you mean?
Circumstances now make it impossible for me to tell you anything. I think it is better for all of us that way. If you print anything about the Grand Duchess, it would place her in grave danger.
You haven't given me anything to print.
Believe me, Mr. Harold, I am not being uncooperative. I must just ask you, please, to forget that I ever spoke to you about this matter. Good night, Mr. Harold.
I'd about given up the Tatiana story as a total loss when an announcement by the government made me decide to take one more stab at the Baron. So I started out for his home. To my surprise, I found that he lived in an old, run-down apartment house.
Yes?
I'd like to see the Baron von Kiel, please.
He's out at work. I'm his mother. What is it you want with him?
Well, I'm George Harold. Your son made an appointment for me to see Katerina Smetona. They didn't keep it.
I'm sorry, we cannot help you.
Oh, but it was he who wanted my help.
I'm sorry, there is no longer any necessity.
But listen, Baroness, I have some news that might be of great importance to your friend.
Will you please come in?
Thank you.
I'm afraid we owe you an apology, Mr. Harold. Oh, not for this. We are not too proud to work.
The Baron, where does he work?
My son is a wine waiter. No, he's quite good at his job. He finds his knowledge of vintages invaluable. We don't grumble. We have enough for our needs. Won't you please sit down?
After you.
Well, what is this news?
The government are setting up a special court to inquire into the claim of a woman who says she's Princess Anastasia, one of the daughters of the Tsar.
So I have read.
But don't you see, if your story is true, then Katerina Smetona's evidence would be conclusive. Besides, it would be a golden opportunity for her to prove her claim.
She no longer wishes to prove it.
But couldn't you persuade her?
I have persuaded her in the past. I shouldn't dream of doing so again.
Well, maybe I could see her. Couldn't you tell me where I could find her?
On one condition.
What's that?
That if she wishes it, you will keep her secret.
That's a pretty tough one for a newspaper man, but I guess I've no choice. You've got my word.
Ah.
A few days later, I found myself at the displaced persons camp number 16 in the North Seaport of Emden in the British zone of Germany. As I looked at the dispirited, hopeless-looking refugees and the dreary, weather-stained huts, I couldn't help but think what a strange setting this was for the daughter of a Tsar.
I'll find Sister Katerina.
Thank you.
Mr. George Harold?
Yes. I come with the permission of your old friend, the Baroness von Kiel.
Well, will you sit down?
Thank you. Her son, the Baron, once wrote me a letter about you.
Yes, I know. I'm very much afraid that you've made this long journey for nothing.
Well, do you mind if I read it to you?
I can't stop you reading it, but I warn you, you're wasting your time.
My story really starts here, at the Ipatieff house in Ekaterinburg, Russia, on the evening of July 16th, 1918. Here, Tsar Nicholas II, the last of the Romanov dynasty, the Tsarina, their son, and their 4 daughters have been held prisoners by the Bolsheviks for the past 8 months. But there were still people willing to risk their lives to save them. Among them, Captain Vassily Bloicher, commander of the guard, and Father Steroyev, a village priest. And there were others equally determined that the royal family must die.
You are the representative of the local Soviet?
Yes, Captain. Comrade Andreev expresses his disappointment for disturbing you at this hour.
Thank him for me. You may tell him that his order will be carried out with the maximum dispatch. and true Bolshevik efficiency.
The local Soviet has instructed me to be present. So if I have your authority, Captain...
You have my authority, comrade. There has been a change in the orders. Rouse the prisoners, take them to the cellar. Start at the far end.
Yes, sir.
Sentry, muster the firing squad.
One of the intended victims was the Grand Duchess Tatiana, the Tsar's favorite daughter.
Be quiet. I am Captain Vasily Blucher. Father Steroyov has told you about me, has he not? Get your clothes on, child. Quickly.
I'm ready, Captain. Father Steroyev told me to sleep these nights fully dressed.
Follow me.
Are we going away tonight?
Through here.
Is it tonight?
Keep quiet and do as you are told.
Where are they taking us?
I'm sorry, little princess. Hold on to my hand. Princess.
That was my sister.
You cannot help her. None of us can now.
But they're hurting her. Let me go to her. Let me go.
It's too late. You must obey your father's wishes. Will you walk, or must I carry you?
I will walk.
Be brave, Tatiana, my child. Be brave.
There was a change in the order.
God is with us. There's still time.
I must hurry back now.
God bless you, my son, and be with you always.
Thank you. I'm sorry I cried.
Good luck, little princess.
My child, hide yourself in the hay quickly. Cover yourself, and if you value my life, don't make a sound.
Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven.
You must stay hidden, my child. There's a time for crying and a time for dying. We have time for neither one.
With the sudden change of orders, all sentries had been warned to be specially on their guard against any attempt at a rescue or an escape. And not even the familiar figure of Father Steroyev was any safeguard against a search with bayonets of a hay wagon driving out. But the volley of shots told the guards that the necessity for a search was over. Major West, a personal adjutant of Field Marshal Ludendorff, gave her papers under the name of Katerina Smetona, the deceased daughter of a Lithuanian landowner. The Grand Duchess, heir to the Romanov fortune, has lived under this name ever since.
You can prove none of this. None of it. Major West died many years ago.
How do you know that?
Know what?
That the Major was dead. How is this name at all familiar to you?
Why can't you leave me alone?
Did Baron von Kiel come to me in Vienna with your permission?
Yes. I authorized him to make a claim on my request.
What made you change your mind?
There was an attempt on my life that day in the restaurant. Oh, don't think that I'm a coward. But I felt that my life wasn't entirely mine to risk.
It was also an excellent opportunity for you to prove your right to the Romanov fortune. I suppose you know that.
The money means nothing to me. Except perhaps for the good that it'll do others.
And also the prospect of living the rest of your life as a Grand Duchess.
Oh, I've dreamt often of the old life. The way it was when I was a little girl. Yes, that image has its attractions for me.
And what are you afraid of? The questions? Don't you know no matter what you do, there'll always be those who won't believe you?
No desire to face them.
Why not?
I've no desire to destroy a life that I've made for myself, a good and useful life. Why should I exchange something positive for something unknown? Something I may not even want when I get it.
Do you know there's a woman now living in Germany who claims to be your sister?
Anastasia.
You've heard of her?
Yes.
They say, the legend says, she fainted just a moment before the volley was fired.
Yes, I've heard that story. Do they believe her? Any more than they believe me?
Do you believe her?
I don't know what to believe.
Wouldn't you like to see this woman for yourself?
I don't know.
Well, look, if this woman is not your sister, if her story is a lie, don't you want to make sure she doesn't make a claim to some money that belongs to you?
Well, this woman, is she in need?
I'm not sure I understand.
Well, if she's in need, I'd like to help her. If she's my sister, I'd love to see her. Mr. Harold, I don't suppose this will mean very much to you, but I'm needed here. I'm a nurse. I tell you this because I take pride in it. I don't know what to do. I just don't know what to do.
You are Tatiana.
Mr. Harold, what do you think I ought to do? Come in.
Sister Katerina, could you spare a minute?
Yes, of course. Who is it?
Mrs. Kozlinsky.
Would you like to see our hospital?
Yes, I would.
I'm in charge of the whole hospital. Or did I tell you that before? This is my little kingdom. Lotsy, it's time for your exercises. Run along.
All right.
You love your work here, don't you?
Yes, I love it.
You could endow a hospital 10 times this size.
Yes, I suppose I could. Oh, that's coming along nicely, Mrs. Krause.
Yeah. You think he will like it, sister? It will keep him warm.
She's been knitting socks and sweaters for her husband for the last 10 years. We promised to send them to him. He died in Siberia 6 years ago.
As Grand Duchess Tatiana, you could help him just as much, maybe even more.
Yes, I suppose I could. Perhaps I shouldn't refuse the chance to do more for them.
See, her eyes are open.
She's a beautiful baby.
I will call her Katerina. What other name could I choose?
You were saying, Mr. Harold?
I realize it's a difficult choice for you.
I never felt really free to choose. You see, I've always regarded my life as being given to me in trust by my parents, my brother, and my sisters. My one thought has always been how to make the best use of it. Is the pain very bad?
No, not now. It is better now you are here.
I'll give you something to make it better. Then you must sleep.
You are not going away from us. You will not leave us, will you?
No, I won't leave you.
A woman born to be a queen, renouncing rank and riches. But she was not a person to be pitied, for she was richer than any of us in the most precious of all possessions, peace of heart. I've given Nurse Katerina a fictitious name, for today the Grand Duchess Tatiana, last of the Romanovs, is still nursing at a Midlands hospital in England. I kept my promise. This is the best story I never wrote.